Thank you for tuning in to Airway Circle Radio. This is the Dear Mama podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Catherine Murphy. Today, my guest is Lindsay Benner, the CEO and founder of Rodney K. Press. We're going to begin today with a great quotation. If you feel something calling you to dance or write or paint or sing, please refuse to worry about whether you're good enough. Just do it. These words are Glennon Doyle Melton's, author and activist. The reason why I chose this quote today is because our guest is here today to empower others to share their health stories to support the shift in approaches to health. With Lindsay and her team, Dear Mama transformed from a poem to the virtual hug I would love to share with each and every mama that is doubting her intuition. Lindsay Benner is a mother, author, and owner of the publishing company Rodney K. Press. She is passionate about transforming the publishing world from what is traditionally difficult to penetrate to the more accessible venture for aspiring authors. Believing that everyone has a story to tell, Lindsay wants to help bring their stories to life. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you so much. What an intro.
Thank you for being part of episode 1 of Dear Mama, which I forgot to put in that intro.
I am so excited to be a part of this debut episode. Congratulations.
Thank you. So can you briefly describe for us what took you on this journey to being, starting your own publishing company?
Absolutely. So I feel like it was a bit of divine intervention. I was teaching high school at the time, and I opened up this email that said, explain what home means to you in 25 words or less, or something like that, and you have a chance to win $25,000. It was like a promotional email from the Ellen DeGeneres show, and I was like, awesome, I'm going to attempt to do this. So I sat down and I started writing, and the words just poured out of me. It was that time in my life that I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and working full time, I felt very pulled to be at home. And so this poem ended up being all about how when you put children in a house, how it transforms and becomes this lively home. And so I submitted it. I didn't win the $25,000, but I drove home that day and it dawned on me that my passion is in writing and I really want to pursue this. So I did what most people do when they want to write a book is I went to Google and I typed in, how do I publish a book, right? And that took me on a journey of sending my manuscript to literary agents throughout the country. I think I did that for about 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
And I heard back some great things. I got encouragement from people to keep going, but the overarching message was, this is not what we're currently looking for. Mm. And that was pretty deflating. And I thought, you know what, I have a good story. And so I looked at some other companies, and then there were some smaller publishing companies that I would reach out to them. They would give me their package price without even looking at my manuscript. Mm. And I was like, wait, you want to take on my book? You don't even know what I have to say. And I just thought there has to be a better way. And so I started my publishing company that spring. I left teaching, took a leap of faith, started my company, and did that for a few years, went back to teaching, wasn't quite ready to step into it full time. But in 2020, when life got turned upside down for everybody, I really looked at how I wanted to spend each day, and working with authors and having the flexibility of working from home was what I wanted to do. So spring of 2020, I left teaching for good. I stepped into publishing full time. Since then, my authors have grown from 1 at a time to, I think we're at 25 now.
Wow.
So yeah, it really reiterated to me that when you declare what you want to the universe, it really rearranges itself to work in your favor. So it's been pretty awesome last few years.
How did I not know about that contest? That's amazing. Wow. It's those emails that you're like, oh, should I just delete it? Or maybe I should read it. And
totally. It was in the promotional folder. And how many of us actually look at those? But for whatever reason that day I opened it, And it was like this sign, you are supposed to be doing something here. So pretty
Well,
remarkable.
I am very thankful because I remember how I came across your name was actually in a Facebook group. And
That's
I don't
right.
remember I don't remember which one, but a friend of your sister's said, "Oh, she left teaching, she started this publishing company for those that want to self-publish." And I had reached out to companies similar to what you had mentioned where they'll do these stock like projects without really caring about what your story is.
Exactly.
So I remember talking with you and we had a really great intro conversation. And then I hung up and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what she's thinking about tongue ties." So please, can you share with me what you thought after I actually then emailed you and submitted the manuscript for Dear Mama and what you thought about that story?
Absolutely. I had never heard of tongue ties before. And my father is a dentist, my sister is a dentist. And so it was surprising to me that this is such a prevalent issue that I had no idea about. But it's kind of like when you buy a new vehicle and you've never really seen it before, and all of a sudden you're driving around and you see it everywhere, right? I don't know if it was the spies in my phone or the law of attraction, but all of a sudden I started hearing more and more about tongue tie, and it dawned on me what a large issue this is and how little people are talking about it unless it personally affects them.
Mhm.
Um, and I also was so struck by when I learned more about tongue tie, the all the effects that come from this condition. So when we were going through the manuscript and talking about how you wanted the child illustrated on every page, from the way it impacted their eating to the chapped lips to how it can affect their posture, I was
Mhm.
just blown away. And then to find out you really dug in and did the work to figure out how to help, that was amazing. Um, but even more than that, what I was really in awe of was how I knew this was going to resonate with mamas everywhere, because all of us as a parent, we see an issue in our child, we're trying to find their unique needs, and it can be exhausting and overwhelming. And um, you didn't give up, and that was so amazing. And I knew this would be inspiring to mamas, and that they would it would resonate with so many people.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
so with that, can you explain to us why it's so important for people to share their story for whatever it is, from tongue ties, which is our focus with Airway Circle, right? Airway, but um, from just our stories in general as moms, as women, as people.
Yeah. I think no matter what story people want to share, everybody comes to this place where they have a bit of imposter syndrome. Like, who's going to want to read what I have to say? Or who am I to talk about this? Uh, and I always want to emphasize to everybody that we get those inspired thoughts for a reason. And all of us have unique circumstances that can help to educate other people. And in those stories, we don't realize how much resonates with people. I I taught high school English for 12 years, and one of my favorite projects was when my students wrote their memoirs. And I was always struck with, no matter their upbringing or what their story was, there was a nugget in there that I could relate to, and that I knew their classmates and other people that they would want to share it with would relate to too. So it really reiterated the fact that all of our stories are meant to be shared so we can all learn and connect with one another.
So with the imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
do you find um, do you find motherhood to have the imposter syndrome? And if so,
Mo-
can you explain what was your biggest surprise about motherhood and feeling like, "Oh gosh, am I supposed to be the one caring for this
yeah,
baby?"
right. I know, you leave the hospital and you're kind of like, wait, you're not coming home with me. This is on me now. um growing up, I always felt like my parents had the answers to everything. And they truly are amazing parents. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she was the type of mom that um, all my friends were drawn to for advice. And she was like the Oprah. She seemed to always know how to navigate certain situations. And I thought, how am I going to emulate that? But what I didn't anticipate, and one of the best surprises of motherhood, is that our kids are truly our teachers. And when I watched my kids jump into things without the fears of inadequacies and all those stories that we tell ourselves over the years and all the distortions we get from society, it was inspiring to watch. And I realized that the more I tried to intervene, the more I was just projecting my own fears onto them and trying to protect them uh, from failure or embarrassment or anything. And I realized I just need to stand back and let them spread their wings, because they are fearless, they are confident, they're creative. And it reminded me what I need to do in my own life, right? So I think knowing that we don't have to have all the answers, and that we continue to do our best, but to really watch how fearlessly they lead their lives and how that can be such an inspiration to us.
How old are your kids?
They are 10, and my daughter's 10, my son is almost 8.
And I just want to let people know that I have proof that her daughter fully appreciates the lessons her mom is teaching her, because she actually wrote a book. Her daughter,
Yes.
Whitney.
Yes.
And I actually love the title. I know, Lindsay, you were a little bit hesitant to tell me the title of the book, but I love it. It's Freddy Farts a Lot Goes to School. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah. So uh, it uh, it all started one night. We were laying in bed and coming up with stories together, and I had actually created the character Sir Farts a Lot, and I thought he was going to be like this knight. And Whitney said, "No, I don't like that. I think he's this lovable, like, monster character, and he's kind of shy, and he's shy about his, condition. He's Freddy Farts a Lot." And so we just kind of laughed and went to bed. Well, the next day she woke up and wrote a draft of the first book, and she came to me, and I was like, "This is really good. I think we should make this into an actual book." And so she funded all the money to put the book together herself. We did it through Kickstarter. And in that process, we got to share some of the illustrations that she created, which our illustrator then took and professionalized. But it was really cool to see her vision from the beginning to the end, and how she put that together.
That's awesome.
So yeah, she does things, 30 years before I do. It's kind of that's how we roll.
Oh, goodness. So what part of the process do your kids have with the books that come out? Were they part of Dear Mom at all? Did they talk with you about some of the things that you've learned about tongue ties and airway issues as you're going through that?
Yeah. One of the best messages, I think, as a parent and as a family in reading Dear Mama, is that everything is figure outable, and how our bodies are so interconnected. My son has prescriptive lenses, and when we first got his diagnosis, he was very farsighted. I thought, well, this doesn't seem like this is going to be a forever life sentence thing. I feel like we can work with this. My husband and I don't have any prescription lenses, so we brought him to a chiropractor, which then led us to cranial sacral therapy and working with his fascia. And he has since lowered his prescription twice, and
Twice.
has him. Yes,
And how short of a period of time?
a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And so learning everything that you went through and how you weren't willing to just accept these generic answers that this is kind of what it is, and you kept digging, was inspiring for me, because when it happened with him, I thought there has to be another way, right? And we've seen it work in this holistic field where we're not just looking at the eyesight, we're looking at the whole body. And I think that's what one of the biggest messages I've learned from Dear Mama.
So how did you get into that space? How did you decide to go and do vision therapy, something which many of us haven't heard of before, and cranial sacral therapy, something probably even less of us probably have heard of before? How did you get
Yeah.
okay to do that? How did you follow your intuition to do that?
I attribute it a lot to, I have a phenomenal chiropractor who was referred to me by my sister, and um, he does, he's great at looking at the whole body as opposed to, we're going to focus on this one area and
Mhm.
and just work with that. And so I had been going to see him for a while for myself, and I talked to him about bringing my son in, and he said, "Oh, I absolutely think we can help." And then after even the first adjustment, he said, "I want to refer you to do some cranial sacral therapy." I also had another friend who sees this chiropractor. She knew somebody in cranial sacral. So I feel like once you get into more holistic health, it is
Mhm.
a community of people who share their experiences and what's worked from them for them. So it's really been kind of a domino effect of finding what has worked for people around me and what's going to work for us.
That's awesome. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
did you get any
grateful.
pushback from anyone that doesn't quite understand the benefits of going kind of outside the box for care?
Um, I didn't get any pushback. I was raised in a very Western medicine, with my dad going to medical school, dental school, and feeling um, like normally we would go to the eye doctor, and that would be the end of it. Um, and so this whole realm has been very new to me because it wasn't how I was brought up. But I didn't get pushed back from, my parents have been supportive in watching how he has improved.
That's great.
Um, and so I think in sharing just his story and how um, it kind of speaks for itself that this has been something that has worked for us. And every situation is obviously unique, but I would recommend it to anybody.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And that's just
Yeah,
1 year and twice the prescription has changed. That's great.
yeah.
You need to get a warranty on being able to change those lenses now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, but thankfully he can keep the frames, right? And then just
He
switch out the
can.
lenses.
Yes. Yes.
That's good. And has it impacted his hockey playing?
Oh, that's a good question. He's definitely improved, but I don't know
Okay.
how much that's ice time and practice or his vision. But I'm sure it's a combination of both.
Oh, awesome. I'm looking forward to when he doesn't have to have glasses anymore then.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm not sure, did I cut you off? Did I get to ask you what your mom to mom wisdom was?
Um,
I don't think I
well,
did. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. We talked about what was surprising as a parent. I think part of my mom to mom wisdom would be that to really see your kids as teachers, and because they are coming in with such open hearts and exploratory mindsets, that it's such a great um, it's such great inspiration for us. And the other part is always just to follow your intuition, just as you
Mhm.
did in your path with Dear Mama, and figuring out tongue tie. Advice is from people is great, but it's based on their own perceptions, their own experiences, and we all have a unique experience going through life, and no two kids are the same. And so those mama instincts are so important, and they're given to us for a reason. And so I think following your intuition would be one of my biggest mom advice.
And career advices too.
Yeah, that too.
Oh, that's awesome. Any closing remarks before we go into the take three from me portion?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on. I'm so excited for you and this podcast. I have no doubt that you are going to help so many people. For those of you who are just getting to know Catherine, she is a bright light and just a sweetheart, super inspiring. And I so admire you.
Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
the feelings are mutual. For those of you that have followed the take three from me, you know that I am big on gratitude and writing things down. And since January of 2021, I believe, is when we had our conversation. Maybe it was December, and then we started working in January. But
Yep.
you have been a consistent thing for me writing down. I'm so happy and grateful for working with Lindsay.
Oh,
And
that's
we
so
don't
sweet.
meet every week anymore. We meet every other week now because of some other projects. And I have to tell you, I used to just like those Thursday lunches with you were just they were what I needed after, like almost done with my work week, going into the weekend, which was sometimes harder than the work week.
For sure.
And it was so great to just really be creating something with someone that understood me but has never actually met me.
Isn't it wild? I feel like I know you so well, and I agree. You are among my blessings all the time. But crazy we haven't met yet, and I can't wait for the day.
Yes, it has to be soon. And maybe the next book is going to be published up near you, and we can. Patrick is already asking about when we're going to pick up Dear Friend. So
Yay!
maybe, even though I have to say, I love the feel of this cover so much that I kind of want to go
Hmm.
back and do TPS again.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see. Things will work out.
Yep, they will. Absolutely.
Oh, well, we're going to go into our take three for me session. So the take three for me is a co-creation between me and Grizik. I should be able to say that easily. We come from the last name Krochek that I used to have. So Bree is a pediatric acupuncturist and licensed massage therapist. We co-created this, and it has just been transformative for our lives, and we are so thankful that we get to share it Monday through Friday on Facebook and occasionally through TikTok and Instagram, and now
Yes.
through Dear Mama, so that we can teach moms that self-care doesn't have to be costly or really time intensive. It really can take as little as 3 seconds, 3 minutes. And so the first portion is the movement portion. So if you're not driving, kind of move around, put your hands up above your head if you can, but behind your head if you're having stress, which, just
Mm.
I should just say put your hands behind your head.
Goes without saying.
Oh, and then one of my favorites, which we can do, is called fluffy head. Just kind of put your
Oh,
fingers
yeah.
up in your head and then release. Yes, just that
Good. My
feels
hair was
nice.
getting flat. This is good.
So for those that need to have a little freshen up of your hairdo, you can use that as an excuse too.
Nice.
And then the second portion is the mindset reset, which Lindsay has agreed to do with us. So
Yeah.
the three aspects that we look at is to ask everyone to take a look at what they're proud of, what they're grateful for, and their intention for the day. So Lindsay, what would you like to share with us?
Um, the intention is fresh on my mind. I We recently traveled with another couple, and um, I was catching up with my girlfriend after the trip, and she said it was so fun to travel with Gary, my husband, and just see him in that light. And I said, "Oh, what did you notice?" She said, "I just noticed how he really makes every interaction count." And he does. Like when we go to sign up for an excursion, he really takes the time to interact with the person he's with whom he's speaking, and get to know them. And it dawned on me how important that is. And so my intention is to be more like my husband and make sure that I am making every interaction count.
That's awesome. Oh, and I'm
Yeah.
so that I know that the two of you, I love, you know, I only know a little bit about your snippets of your marriage, but I love that that's just beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'm
now,
sure he'll appreciate that too.
well, yes, because oftentimes, again, we lack sharing what we are proud of. We share so much of what our kids are proud of. We oftentimes then don't share what we're proud of with our partner in life.
Mhm.
And so that's really, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for reminding us that it's self care is also realizing that whoever we've decided to um, share important parts of our life with, if it's a spouse, a partner, or a best friend, to also be proud of them and let them know too, because that makes it
absolutely.
so they can be our support system better.
Yep. That's
And
right.
then our last portion, which is hard to do on a podcast because I don't want you guys to think we've lost contact, is the breath work. So I will just challenge all of us that when we are feeling a little overwhelmed or frustrated, stressed, angry, to just pause for a second, figure out if we're breathing shallow, more bringing our shoulders up, or deep into our belly where we're actually extending our diaphragm, and that helps calm us down. We overbreathe too much, which we'll talk about more on this podcast. But just as a
Mhm.
reminder, it can take as little as 3 seconds to just calm ourselves, reset, and refocus.
And I actually asked you to lead me in a little breath work before we started to center myself as well. And it was great. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I was very honored to do that. I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. Oh, well, Lindsay, thank you so much again for being my first guest. And I hope I was able to lead you through the questions okay. And
Yes, it was so much fun. I could sit and
oh,
do this all day with you.
I could too. And I'm just forever grateful that I no longer have the poem on my phone, and it is
Yes.
in hardcover right here.
Yep.
And so thank you. And I am looking forward to our next episode. The next episode, we're going to have Dr. Tammy Gerke. Um, she's going to help us learn about how to skip the pain of dental caries or dental cavities. So she is the founder and executive director of South Shore Skipping Stones, which is a nonprofit educational organization, believing that truly all of us are born to be cavity free, but we need to be educated. And spoiler, it actually starts in utero. So we're going to talk about the first 1,000 days and how that can affect the pain of not having everything in balance and how we can prevent that. So stay tuned, and I get to end again with my little daughter's laugh. So let's go ahead and
So,
thank you so much for joining us for the Dear Mama podcast. Stay tuned.
thank you so much.
Bye.